Get ready for Benjamin Knight Fuchs live on Memorial Day. Ben, how are you? Happy Memorial Day. How was your holiday weekend?
I had a very productive Memorial Day in a very interesting way. It was productive because I did stuff, but it was also productive because I didn't do stuff.
Yeah, sure.
I actually read. I did stuff all day, but I read. I cleaned a little bit.
Sure.
Made some popcorn. I'm fasting today.
Go.
I should say I was gonna fast today, but I made some popcorn. So I'm not fasting, but I'm going low cal. Probably keep it under 300-400 calories today. This is what I'm hoping. Do you know there's 72 million hot dogs that will be eaten this weekend, Memorial Day weekend? 72 million. I looked it up.
I'm in that.
Are you in that category?
I'm in that statistic.
Did I ever tell you about my hot dog?
I ate a nice.
I wanted to lose some weight a few years ago, and this guy told me about a hot dog diet. He said he lost a lot of weight eating hot dogs. And I was like, all right, okay, I can try that. And I did. And man, did I love hot dogs. I was loving my hot dog diet, but I didn't lose a single pound. In fact, I gained weight. But boy, did I like the hot dogs. I can see why people eat them. Why people like hot dogs.
Yeah.
So.
And Chicago's
of course,
famous
Chicago's
for
famous
hot dogs.
for hot dogs. Yeah, how can you not eat hot dogs if you're in Chicago? Impossible.
Yes. It's sacrilegious, especially now that the
from
Pope,
Chicago.
the Pope is from Chicago.
Does he have his own hot dog?
You know.
Do they have like special Pope hot dogs or something and celebrate? I'm sure.
They are in Chicago creating
Pope-centric
sandwiches. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
hilarious.
it's funny because I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to make any jokes about the Pope. That might not be right. So, but the hot dogs and the Pope have some things in common, I think. And we'll let you use your imagination on that. Okay. Anyway, so what's going on? Let's do some videos.
Yeah, let's comment on the World Wide Web.
Do you know this guy?
So first we got Dr.
Have you heard of
Williams.
this guy?
I don't know this guy. I haven't heard of this guy, but let's. I'm gonna. Not reboot, but just refresh.
Okay.
Make sure the sound's up, and let's listen.
Ivermectin paste, ivermectin cream is actually FDA approved for the treatment of rosacea. A lot of people don't know that, but ivermectin cream is actually FDA approved. Your dermatologist can prescribe it. Now, of course, the doctors hesitate to prescribe it, but it's a 1% ivermectin cream. You could treat rosacea. The ivermectin horse paste is actually 1.87%, so it's stronger. It's almost twice as strong. You can literally use it for any inflammatory or autoimmune skin condition. It'll treat cystic acne, which is the worst possible acne you can have, and it'll clear it completely. It'll clear eczema. Like I said, in many cases, it will clear psoriasis. But most impressive of all, it will clear skin cancers. And I now have tons of testimonials from patients who had either basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, melanoma. They started applying the horse paste twice a day. Within a couple of weeks, you see the skin lesions start changing. You can see it. Just after a couple of weeks of application, the lesion starts changing, it starts getting smaller, and after a month or two, it may fall off completely and it's gone. You can treat any skin cancer with ivermectin paste, the horse paste, the $8-9 horse paste that you get at whatever veterinary supply.
Okay, so we've talked about rosacea, and you.
So here's the deal.
But you've eloquently talked about hydrating the skin.
Yeah, so I'm a skin guy. When I hear somebody talk about rosacea and autoimmune diseases of the skin and skin diseases, I don't know what kind of doctor he is. Whenever they say doctor, DR, they're not an MD. So I don't know, maybe he's a chiropractor, an acupuncturist or something like that. But the point is, not that that's a bad thing, but the point is he doesn't really understand the skin except for from a medical standpoint. What do I mean by that? Ivermectin's got some interesting anti-inflammatory properties. And that's one of its mechanisms of action. So inflammation is a really fast. We talk about inflammation all the time, but what exactly is happening when the skin's inflamed? Damaged cells are sending out signals to the immune system that literally recruit the immune system to the damage. And part of the mechanism of action, of protection of these immune cells to the damaged tissue, is to surround it. That surrounding is what we mean by inflammation, or that surrounding is a part of the inflammatory process. The signals that are sent from the damaged tissue, these are signaling molecules, they call them, largely are of a class of molecules called cytokines. Have you heard of this term, Liam? Cytokines, especially in terms of cytokines.
Cytokines, yes.
I
hear about a cytokine
storm. They call it the cytokine
yeah.
storm. It's when there's a lot of damage and a lot of cytokines come out, and that was notoriously with the virus that came out. That, I don't want to mention its name because we'll get banned or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? So when the virus came out, ivermectin became popular because it has an ability to suppress cytokines. You with me? Are you with me? Okay.
Gotcha.
So by cytokine suppression, ivermectin exerts, and we find this with drugs a lot. It's actually an anti-parasitic. It kills parasites, but it also does other things. It has there's lots of biochemistry that it's capable of. And one of the biochemical properties is that it can suppress and reduce the production of these cytokines. Okay. So by doing that, you reduce rosacea, autoimmune diseases, like he says, all of the diseases that we have of the immune system involve cytokines, and by suppressing cytokines, you stop the symptoms. Here's the problem, though. When you have a cytokine, when you stimulate cytokines, and the immune system is activated by cytokines, only the medical model thinks the appropriate strategy is to suppress the cytokines. Do you follow the logic?
Okay,
From a healing perspective, you want to know what the heck's stimulating the cytokines. So rosacea, we find there's activity, there's immune activity that's initiated through the digestive system, and people have rosacea notoriously have food problems and digestive problems. For psoriasis, again, it's an autoimmune disease, and you're going to have an immune activation through the digestive system. You're not correcting skin cancer. Also, skin cancer is a little different because with skin cancer, you don't have a lot of time sometimes with cancer, so you got to do what you have to do. But these degenerative diseases that are reversible, I say, let's figure out what the heck the offending agent is. If you need ivermectin in the short run, okay. But the problem with these strategies is it allows us to continue with the bad habits, and now we don't have the immune protection. You with me? You suppress the cytokines. And that's the kind of issue that I have with, using these strategies. Is at the end of the world, there's worse drugs? For sure, there's worse drugs. But this idea, like this doctor saying, you just rub the ivermectin on, no more rosacea, no more psoriasis, no more whatever. Yeah, but you still have the offending agent that's toxing out your body, and you haven't corrected that. And that's the real issue that I see with these kinds of pharmacological interventions that may give you symptomatic relief, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but it may keep you from looking for the cause, and while you're doing further damage down the road because of whatever toxicity you have going on that's causing the rosacea or the psoriasis or the cancer. So does that make sense? You follow what I'm saying? It's not like it's bad per se. But
absolutely.
It seems like logically you want to know what the heck's going on. So, and the medical model is the medical paradigm doesn't look at healing that way. They don't look at therapy that way. And so that's the naturopath paradigm. That's the alternative to allopathy. This guy's giving you the allopathic solution. And maybe if you have, you're going to a party or something, or you have to go, you want to control your rosacea for a little bit, while you figure out the cause. Okay, I can see that, and I don't have a problem with that, but it just lends itself to treating it rather than reversing it.
Yes, and that's what MD-directed medicine is good at, attacking acute trauma,
That's right.
Things that are happening now.
Right. That's right. And so if you have rosacea, you have to go somewhere, and I don't know how fast it works. I hadn't heard this, but I can see why it would work. For any inflammatory issue. That's why it's such a panacea. You know, it's good for so many different things. Why? Because it's working at this fundamental anti-inflammatory or inflammatory level. It's blocking inflammation at this fundamental level of the cytokines.
Makes
sense?
Makes sense.
Okay,
yes.
Let's do the next one.
All right, the next one, I believe, I'm a fresh fruit kind of gives me sort of a headache because I like fresh fruit, but then it's like the pesticides, and so it's I never know which way. I never know which way to go. But let's see. Here's a presentation on fresh fruit. Let's see what we have here. All right.
Well, I see why you picked this. I see why you picked this.
What is that, dragon fruit?
That is a dragon fruit.
And this is papaya.
Papaya is an amazing, amazing food.
Is it? Yeah.
Amazing.
She does a great presentation, I must say.
She presents well, yes.
So, yes.
She presents well.
So, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, papaya, dragon fruit, aside from her being very beautiful, papaya and dragon fruit are two amazing tropical fruits, papaya especially. Papaya is great for your digestive system. It's got pain relieving properties. It's anti-inflammatory. And you can put it on your skin. I use it in skincare products. It's just amazing, amazing stuff. And it's also one of nature's most abundant sources of vitamin C. So it's pretty darn amazing. Pretty darn amazing. I don't know as much about dragon fruit because papaya's got a long history in pharmacy and in cosmetics and skincare. So I know a lot about papaya. Dragon fruit I don't know quite as much about, but it's along the same lines. Probably doesn't have as much vitamin C. It's very enzyme rich, so it's good for your digestive system. It probably has some of the same enzyme benefits. It probably has some bromelain, I would guess, if I had to guess. Bromelain is the active enzyme in papaya. There's probably a little bit, or something similar. It also has antioxidants in it. It's got magnesium and potassium and all kinds of flavonoids. I mean, they're just wonderful. Iron. The dragon fruit has iron. They both have iron in them, actually. They're just great. They're loaded, absolutely, absolutely loaded, and they're low calorie. They're not super sweet. Dragon fruit's a little sweet, or a little sweeter, I'll say. They're just wonderful. They're great to put on top of meat when you're grilling it. It'll soften the meat, and it'll also help protect you from these some of the they call them HCAs, heterocyclic amines. The burnt products on meat that we all love are carcinogenic, and you'll get some protection by slicing dragon fruit and papaya on the meat as you're grilling it. It's great.
Oh, that's great to know.
Yeah, it's great with other things, papaya and dragon fruit, particularly meat, because of the enzymes. So the enzymes help soften the meat, and as I say, the polyphenols help protect you from those HCAs. So it's just, they're two really, really cool fruits, papaya particularly.
And what are your thoughts on, how worried should we be about pesticides? And, it seems like they're getting their handle on Roundup.
That's a good question. I like the way you said that. You shouldn't be worried at all. That's not to say it's not a problem, but worrying is not the answer. Okay?
Okay.
All right?
All right.
You shouldn't worry at all. Worry is like this bad, it's not something you ever want to do in your life. I know we do it, and I do it all the time. And one of the strategies for worrying and anxiety and angst and mental issues is to check in with your body. There's more signals going from your body to your brain than your brain to your body. Your body is older than your brain. It's wiser. It's got much more intelligence than your brain does, believe it or not. And the brain is looking to the body to see what the heck's going on. And so anxiety and depression and angst and worry and all those things, a lot of times they're body issues. So you want to kind of check in with your body whenever you have these unresourceful psychological issues. Check in with your body. And then back to what you're saying about worry, worry is not appropriate. However, is it a problem? Yes. Significant. Major. Glyphosate, I would guess that glyphosate toxicity is a major, major cause of chronic degenerative disease based on what I know about glyphosate and based on what I know about its particular intestinal toxicity to the intestine, because it kills bacteria. It disables bacteria. That's how it works, but it doesn't distinguish between your gut bacteria and and the bacteria on the plant, on the produce. So it's a big problem. It's water soluble, so it rains glyphosate. So even if you're eating organic, it's hard to know if it's got glyphosate or not. I imagine it's a much huger problem than anybody, imagines, and you're not going to hear about it on the news. It's not going to be a problem that you're going to read about on the news or listen to on the news or hear on the news or read on the paper.
Right.
They're not going to let you know. Do you remember Fukushima? You remember the Fukushima thing? You didn't hear a lot about Fukushima.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's not to say it wasn't poisoning everything. It within everywhere, the whole planet.
Right.
Just because you didn't hear about it, it's like what do they say? When you don't hear something, when you don't notice something, when you don't see it, out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, it's like they don't talk about it. It's nobody thinks about it. There's dead zones in the ocean for a reason. You don't hear about that either.
Right.
So yes, it's a problem. Worrying is not the strategy. Yes, it's a problem.
Right.
The real answer is to make sure that you practice where you have locus of control. You don't have locus of control over the raining glyphosate, but you do over making sure you're using this, because vitamin C is one of the best ways to protect yourself from glyphosate. So, where you have control. Hot dogs are going to make it harder for the body to deal with glyphosate. And I'm not coming down on hot dogs. I'm just pointing it out that there's certain things we do in our lives where we do have locus of control, so that we can deal with things where we don't have locus of control, rather than, as you say, worry. That's my take on glyphosate and all that. There's hundreds of thousands of chemicals that we're dealing with in the year 2025 that didn't exist 150 years ago. That are all brand new. Yeah, they're for the body. So yes, there's serious problems. Read my friend Darren O'Lean's book, Fatal Conveniences. It doesn't do us any good to clutch at our pearls and hand wring about all that stuff, because yes, it's out there. And I know my friend wrote a book, a very interesting book for people who don't know about these ideas, called Fatal Conveniences, which is very it's packed with information, very easy to read. It's a nice little reference book. And he talks a lot about shower curtains. Do you know shower curtains are toxic? I mean, new car smell, there's so many places where you have toxic fabric softeners, detergents, things that are coming out of the paint in the walls and the carpets, your dry cleaning solution. I mean, it's everywhere. Better living through chemistry, they used to say.
Yeah. Better living through chemistry.
That's what they used to say. They don't say it anymore. Right. They don't say that anymore.
They used to
when we were growing up, they said that.
They say that.
Yeah, they don't say it anymore.
And speaking of chemicals, we got this interesting methylene blue. What's this?
Methylene blue. Wow. We're going to talk about methylene blue, but you want to talk about methylene blue?
Yeah, she's gonna talk about it. This might go on a little bit long, so feel free to cut it off, whenever you want. But yeah, just let's see what she has to say here.
Somebody asked me to look into a product on the Wellness Company site and to do some research on it. Let me just show you. So the product being the Recharge with methylene blue and urolithin A. It's the only one with urolithin A. So I made this video about the research that I found on it, and basically that methylene blue was recharging your mitochondria and urolithin A was going in and cleaning everything up. So then I ordered my product and I got it last night. I took one pill last night, one pill this morning, and already I'm better. You can hear it in my voice, and I'm actually energized. I was on antihistamines pretty much all week, and I was kind of feeling drowsy and my throat was in and out. But this morning my nose is clear, my throat's getting clearer, and I only had 2 pills. I bring it to work to the safety meeting and I tell all the guys, and now my bottle is missing and I can't find it, and I've been texting my boss and everybody on site. Nobody wants to admit where it went.
So they're stealing all her methylene.
All right, so methylene blue is all the rage. It's a medicine. It can donate electrons. It has antioxidant properties. Again, because it's working at such a fundamental level, it has many things that it can do. So it's used to treat cancer, support the immune system. She said, I think she said rosacea. I don't remember what she said. It's working for.
Yeah,
The urolithin is also interesting. Urolithin is it's a when bacteria process things, they release certain beneficial molecules. So when bacteria process certain flavonoids or polyphenols that are found in various fruits, pomegranates is notorious for having this compound that is converted into urolithin. Walnuts, there are various places. Strawberries, berries have this. It's called egalicatechin, or not egalicatechin. It's called it's an egalitannin. Egalicatecin's a little different. Egalitannins. These egalitannins are turned into urolithin, and urolithin's got some very interesting benefits. And now you can get urolithin supplements. And now what they're doing here is they're adding urolithin to methylene blue. So it's kind of like there's a million different polyphenols and molecules that are produced by bacteria. And methylene blue is kind of unique. But as far as urolithin goes, you don't want to really isolate specific ones, although you might get some benefit. The worst way to determine how valuable a supplement like that is to listen to somebody, because everybody's going to be different. And, she said that now she can't find her product because the guys are stealing it. Yeah, I get what she's saying, but you know what? Those guys who don't really understand how the body works, just because it works for her, it's not going to work for it. Doesn't mean it work for everybody. And whether it works for her, we don't know. We're just going by what she said. We don't know. She feels better. Okay, that's not bad that she feels better, but I don't take much. That doesn't mean much to me. Methylene blue is an interesting molecule. There is some negative stuff now. I've just been reading about methylene blue, but it's a drug. It's one of the first drugs was methylene blue, and it's a dye. It was discovered, like when they first started playing with organic chemistry and drugs, it was discovered that the dyes had medicinal properties. The dyes would kill things. Dyes were antiseptic and could reduce inflammation that was secondary to some kind of microbial infection. So the dyes became kind of medicinal. And methylene blue is one of the last of it's one of the ones that's still being used. I don't know of many others that are still being used medicinally. Methylene blue is still being used medicinally. It is literally blue. It's a blue dye. And it has an ability to contribute electrons. Pigments are electrically active. Pigments, yeah.
No
like when you see red, what is red really? What is red? And you remember Roy G. Biv, our red, orange, yellow, right?
Sure.
What makes something red and not orange, or red and not yellow, or red and not violet? What is it?
Right. It's reflecting the red spectrum.
Well, more specifically, it's the frequency. What does frequency mean? Frequency, or this wavelength, which is the flip side of the coin of frequency. I like to work with frequency. Frequency is on off. Like if I turn the light switch here, let's see if you can see this. On, off. Watch, see I'm going on, off, on, off.
Yep.
Right? On, off is a frequency. The frequency of on, off, of one on, off a second is 1. The name for 1 is hertz. So this is 1 hertz on, off. Once a second.
Oh, right.
Once a second is 1 hertz.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Okay.
So it's
1 hertz.
That. Awesome.
So
all right.
Hertz, that's what a frequency is. Frequency is just an on-off. Colors are going on and off, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. And how fast they're going on and off makes them red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, or violet. Red is going on off. Ready for this? 500, roughly, trillion times a second.
Wow! No kidding.
500
trillion times a second.
This is on off. 1. The hertz for red is around 500 terahertz.
Wow, I had no
terahertz
idea.
Per trillion hertz. So what does that mean? It means it's making the little tiny electrons in your eyes vibrate 500 trillion times a second.
Wow.
Now, if it vibrates at 800 trillion times a second instead of 500, you're going to see purple. If it vibrates at 600 trillion times a second, you're going to see orange. Then yellow, then red. It's the trillions, the hertz, the frequency. that is being measured. Now, the other side is wavelength, and that's not quite as intuitive to me, but the frequency is. Wavelength is the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength, and that's a little bit different to them. They measure that in nanometers. That's not quite as easy to visualize as frequency. So the point I'm making is that colors are electrically active. They're generating electrical energy by moving, by oscillation, by moving. That's how electrical energy is generated, by movement. So methylene blue and the dyes are generating electrical energy. They're donating electricity. They've got properties. And one of methylene blue's properties is it's anti-inflammatory and it's antioxidant. And it's particularly anti-inflammatory and antioxidant for mitochondria, which is a whole nother story. That's the little structures inside a cell that generate energy. And that's a whole nother, we do a whole talk on that one. So anything you do to support mitochondrial health is going to support your overall health. And so they use that. I've heard good things about it, I will say, but there's also, it's a drug, better. I always look at what's the ways we cannot necessarily treat, but reverse or correct rather than treat. You know what I'm saying? It's like the drug, like ivermectin. So for mitochondrial issues, let's figure out why are your mitochondria frying, why they're so
right.
Instead of using methylene blue. That being said, if you get benefit, you get benefit. Good for you. More power to her. Okay.
And speaking of benefit, I remember growing up with the oil of Olay. The benefit.
What are you trying to do? You're trying to make me angry? You're trying to get me all freaked out on this show? Holy cow. You really want to go there with the oil of Olay?
Younger.
Oh, come on.
So let's
watch
this
skincare.
This is a blast.
Okay, let's watch.
Yeah, I'm talking to the maestro here, so I thought it would be fun to get your opinion here. Let's see.
You look older than your husband. I thought I did, till a friend shared her secret. Oil of Olay beauty lotion. Skin drinks in oil of Olay. Soothes away dryness that accents wrinkles. Then those little lines are less noticeable. Smooth on morning and night. Never greasy. Marvelous under makeup. So you may look your youngest. How nice for your husband and for you.
Share the secret of oil of Olay at your drugstore.
Share the secret of the oil.
That's a beautiful
of
woman.
Olay.
That's a beautiful woman. And that's what they're playing on. That's a beautiful woman. It's about feeling. See, skincare as we know it today is about superficiality. It's about an experience. Because skincare companies don't know what else to do. They don't know how to really make a change happen. And the FDA regulates certain things. So what they do is they sell you an experience, a feel. And that's a beautiful feel. It's a beautiful commercial. But you'll know she didn't say anything. She said it soothes away wrinkles, soothes away dryness, so your wrinkles aren't as prominent. They didn't really do anything. Pull up the ingredients.
Yes, let's find the ingredients. They are right here.
All right, so here. Now, I'm a chemist, so I know all of these ingredients. But to the average person, they're not even going to pay attention. They're not going to. That means nothing. Does that mean anything to you?
We've got hydrocitrate.
Yeah, exactly.
Acid,
so let me break it down for you. I'll break the whole formula down. I could make that in my lab if I had all those ingredients. I could tell you roughly how much of everything is in there. So water is about usually 80%, 75, 80%. It's in a cream, higher in a lotion. Glycerin, 5 to 10%. Acetyl palmitate, 2, 3, maybe 4. I'd have to see it, but right around there. Mineral oil, probably 3%. Petrolatum, 3%. Acetyl alcohol, 2%. Glycerol hydroxystearate, 2%, 1%. Stearic acid, 0.5%. Stearic 100, 0.5%. Dimethicone, hold on to that word right there. That's at maybe 0.2%, 0.3% based on the formula. Roughly those kinds of numbers. After that, you got octyldodecyl myrostate, potassium hydroxide, DMDM hydantoin, iodopropanyl butyl carbamate, tetrasodium EDTA, acrylate C, 10 to 30 alkyl acrylate cross polymer, carbomer, fragrance, parfum, red form. Nothing. Zippo. Nada. Glycerin is a little sticky and kind of holds on to some water. Acetyl palmitate's a wax. Mineral oil is an oil. Petrolatum is a Vaseline, which is solid mineral oil. Acetyl alcohol is a wax. Glycerol hydroxystearate's wax. Stearic acid's wax. Stearic 100 wax. Dimethicone, I said, hold on to that. It's silicone, Remember that one. Potassium hydroxide is they use it for the pH. Doesn't do anything. DMDM hydantoin is a preservative. Iodopropanyl butyl carbamate is a preservative. Tetrasodium EDTA has preservative kind of functions. It's a chelator. Acrylates, C10 to 30 alkyl acrylates, a gum, cross-polymerase of gum. Carbamers are kind of thickener, fragrance, and perfume. Nothing is in there for your skin. Nothing except for the dimethicone, which is silicone, makes it feel like something. And the mineral oil and the petrolatum make it feel like something. Everything else is to build the product. This is why skincare has this reputation that it does. There's nothing in there that's going to do anything for your skin. Nothing, and it's a bestseller. Because people don't know. And I think we've talked about it before, but people don't understand how the skin works. And so, you know, to a guy like me who's trying to help people with their skin, this is a slap in my face and a slap in my patient's face. It's insulting. But people don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And so people don't know how to do that. And that's why I started Skin Health.
You don't
because
know.
Unfortunately, that's what the bulk of the skincare products are like. The vast majority of skincare products are like that. Although that one's egregious. That's a very old formula. So more modern ones, they'll throw little bells and some bells and whistles in there, you know. But basically, that's the idea. And that's why skincare has such a bad reputation. And that's why nobody's happy with their skincare products. And that's why we have so many skincare companies out there. Because nobody's satisfied with their skincare, so everybody's looking around for the latest and greatest. So that's not how I formulate, and that just makes me angry.
Speaking of how you formulate, I was going, I was on YouTube and I saw one of your commercials. I was like, wow, Ben's got a commercial. It was so well produced. It was cinematic. It was wonderful, and I believe I have it. Yeah, it was awesome. It has like sounds like the testimonials come in and the sound goes. And
wow, like,
I haven't seen it. I don't follow.
And
then you come up, so it was very super produced. I think I have it right here. I'd like to show it to you and then ask you a question or two. What do you think?
Okay. All right. All right. See what you got.
Like a plan. All right, here we go. Let's see if I got it queued up. Here, we'll put us like this. There we go. Here.
Hi, I'm Ben Fuchs, pharmacist and formulator of Truth Treatments. My background as a pharmacist and my 35 years of dermal research have led me to a formulation strategy that is unheard of in the skincare industry. I believe, like medicine, skincare should be about health. I believe, like medicine, skincare can do something real for your skin. That's why my Truth Treatments are formulated with only 100% active and functional ingredients.
These products have been amazing and such a big difference.
It really helped take away a lot of the redness and some of my acne scars.
My skin is glowier, smoother, fewer wrinkles.
My skin is back to normal. It's soft and moisturized throughout the day.
Healthy skin is beautiful skin. I am pharmacist Benjamin Fuchs, and I know you are gonna love the truth.
All right. I wish I had an applause track. That was outstanding. Okay, so Ben, the question that everybody wants to know is the laboratory that's behind you, is that Chroma Key?
No, that's my lab. That was my lab. I moved.
Is that your actual lab where you do all the magic?
I moved since then. That's an older one. So yeah, I have a lab. Actually, that was my lab. Absolutely. Those are my little mixing stuff. And the shelves there, and you know, the mixer's right there. And I think I was working.
So can you tell me
work in the corner there?
How does it work?
Formula.
Do you build like
when I was building the line? When I was building the line, I was kind of playing around a lot. I was doing a lot of R&D. Now I have a pharmacy. I didn't have a pharmacy back then. Now I have a pharmacy, and so I fill prescriptions. That's what I basically do, and it's bigger. It's a little bit nicer than that. But you know, my line is pretty much formulated. But I'm always tinkering. I like ingredients. I like things. So I have a lab. It's kind of an indulgence. Wouldn't you like to have your own lab?
Well, you know, carpenters have their own workshops. Chemists have their own labs.
And you know what's funny? My skill is chemistry, but I kind of wish I could do workshop carpentry, you know, building cabinets and all that stuff. I love that. Yeah, I love that stuff. I you know, I don't know. I don't have that kind of skill that a carpenter would have, or somebody who can work on cars, you know, or even a painter. But this is my art. You know, chemistry is my art, and I do see it as an art in addition to being a science. Thank you for bringing that up, though.
Yes, and so, but it was fun to contrast the two different approaches to the same end, both oil of
Well, in fairness to them, they sell a lot more product than I do. So they must be doing something right. Who's, I'm maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I should be selling Olay.
You're breaking the mold. You're breaking the mold.
It says, what's his name? This guy Kuhn, Thomas Kuhn, wrote a book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, in the 1960 or something. And he talks about how science progresses. And he has a famous quote in there: "Science progresses funeral by funeral." And that's kind of how it has to happen. That's how it has to happen.
I have to write that down.
Science progresses funeral by
funeral.
Isn't that good?
That's outstanding.
Yeah. So, all right. Hopefully I won't die.
If you want to check out Ben's products, just screenshot this QR code. It will take you here, I believe.
Right, got a few more hours left.
To Truth Treatments. You've only got a few hours left for the
Memorial Day sale.
All
right. Thank you.
So this is the site that has the products that Ben so skillfully puts together.
Leon.
And we'll talk more about it later. We're at the half an hour mark, so we don't want to.
All right. Good to talk to you. Good to see you.
We don't want to take everybody's too much time.
Happy Memorial Day, and happy Memorial Day to our veterans who are out there listening, if there are any listening, or friends of veterans. And thank you for everything that you do to keep us free, as they say. And hopefully everybody's enjoying their holiday and back to work tomorrow.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. See you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, just finished. Just